My name is Dr. Georgie Agar and I am a research fellow at the University of Birmingham. This is a brief summary of why it's really important to think about poor sleep when considering the behaviour and well-being of people with severe intellectual disability and complex needs. So when I use the term poor sleep, this can really encompass a range of different things. So normally when we're thinking about poor sleep, we're probably thinking about difficulties with getting to sleep or waking up a lot overnight. And this is what we call insomnia. But there are a range of other sleep disorders, including things like sleep-related breathing difficulties, sleep-related movement disorders, and parasomnia, so sort of strange sleep behaviours like sleepwalking and sleep talking. Now, all of these disorders are very common in people with intellectual disability, and unfortunately they can be much more persistent as well than they are for people who don't have an intellectual disability. And this is a problem because getting a good night's sleep is really important for our mood, our ability to concentrate. It can impact how we learn, how we consolidate our memories, and how we regulate our behaviour and our appetite. So when we aren't sleeping well, this can have a real impact on our general well-being. We also know that poor sleep can influence our experience of pain, and then being in pain can in turn make it difficult for us to get to sleep. So it's also really important to consider whether a person with intellectual disability is experiencing pain as a cause of their poor sleep and behaviours that challenge. You can find out more about how to assess this in the pain and discomfort section of the checklist. When we haven't slept well, we can all feel a bit more irritable, and this can make different aspects of our environment much more aversive. So for some people with intellectual disability, this can make doing a task feel more difficult or a particular sensory experience feel more overwhelming. This means that tiredness can make people more likely to show behaviours that challenge in response to certain triggers. And these triggers can be predictable, and you can find out more about these in the Learn Behaviour section of the checklist. It can be hard to assess sleep in people with intellectual disability and complex needs because lots of the methods that we are recommended in the wider population can actually be quite invasive. So these might involve things like staying overnight in hospital, wearing lots of wires, being hooked up to different kind of machines. And this may not be accessible for lots of people with intellectual disability. And even when it is possible, these kinds of assessments may not give us an accurate reflection of a person's sleep because they occur in such unusual circumstances. However, there are some techniques such as sleep diaries and the use of wrist-worn accelerometers, which we call ActiWatches. And these can help us to understand a person's sleep in their own home environment over a much longer period of time. And these tools can be really helpful to help us understand a person's kind of typical sleep profile and help us to assess what kind of sleep disorder they might be experiencing. Understanding the type of sleep disorder a person is experiencing is actually really important to being able to treat it properly. So some types of sleep disorder are best treated through medical interventions, for example, reducing pain or improving breathing overnight. And in some cases, poor sleep can be resolved through improving the person's sleeping environment and establishing a consistent bedtime routine. So these are strategies that we would refer to as sleep hygiene. And before trialling any of these strategies, it's really important to keep a diary about the person's sleep for at least 2 weeks. This can help us to understand what the specific sleep problem is and the best way we might have to try and reduce that. You can find out more information about sleep in people with severe intellectual disability and complex needs online at cerebra.org.uk. In the parent guide section, you'll see that we've produced a range of guides for parents and carers to help you understand why people with severe intellectual disability and complex needs experience poor sleep. And we've also given some possible tips and techniques to try and help reduce that poor sleep.